The Chicago Bulls get a win to finish out their West Coast trip against the Portland Trailblazers, but there's some signs for concerns and some signs of goodness in this game. We're going to talk about all that. Plus, we're going to talk about the Bulls' development and where they've been getting it wrong with players like Julian Phillips. And lastly, Billy Donovan comments on his conversations with Zach LaVine around these trade rumors or lack thereof. We're going to get to all that, plus a little bit of the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And the Chicago Bulls won a game against the Portland Trailblazers, 104-96. This is a game in which both teams could not shoot to save their damn lives. When you look at it, the Bulls 8 of 32 from three-point range. The Portland Trailblazers 6 of 33 from three-point range. Neither team could hit threes to save their life, but the Bulls did a lot of things in this game to really help take advantage of it. You look at the turnovers, only 4 turnovers in this game, 3 of those coming from Kobe White alone. Again, not Kobe White did some really good things in this game, and that's not to crap on Kobe, but just to say it was basically one player with most of our turnovers. And then, we took care of the ball primarily, and that is where the Bulls usually find their success at, is when they're able to take care of the ball. It really does help the Bulls tremendously, and that's not anything exclusive to just the Bulls. It's really all teams. When they take care of the ball, you should be in a better place and position to win the game. And that was one of the things in this game that you really did notice over the course, was just how well they took care of the ball. We did get out-rebounded. We got outworked on the boards. We lost that battle by 8, but that's fine. We ended up winning on fast chance points. We have 52 points in the paint. And that brings me to one of my first biggest critiques of this game by the Bulls, is that we did not take advantage of mismatches when we had small players switch on bigs at all. That was some of a mix of Vooch passing out of those situations. It was some of a mix of the guards not getting Vooch the ball kind of in the right position and then looking for him to do something. Both things were true, but Vooch still 6 of 14 on the night. 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He had 2 blocks as well, 3 block shots in that as well, with 14 points. Not the biggest scoring night, but again, there was one 20-point scorer for the Chicago Bulls overall in this game. So that was DeMar DeRozan. Everything else was spread out. When you look at the Portland Trailblazers, they had 2 players in over 20 points with Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton. But, outside of that, the Bulls really took care of business. DeMar led the way with 20 points in this game, going 8 of 14. He only took 9 shots in the first 3 quarters. He took 5 shots in the last quarter, but that was because nobody else could hit a shot. And I've been seeing a lot of kind of comments on DeMar DeRozan and him taking over the game and quote-unquote breaking the offense. No, DeMar did what DeMar's there for, and that is when the Bulls can't get a bucket, DeMar's usually the guy who can find a way to get to a bucket. When you look at the fourth quarter specifically, Kobe White, 0 of 4. DeMar was 4 of 5. Alex Caruso didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter. Ayo Dosunmu was 1 of 3 in the fourth quarter. Julian Phillips was 1 of 3 in the fourth quarter. Nikola Vucevic was 0 of 2 in the fourth quarter. Andre Drummond was 2 of 5 in the fourth. DeMar DeRozan was the only player in the fourth quarter that was playing well. It just is what it is there. And you're going to have games like that. And this is not the game. There are absolutely some games where DeMar kind of breaks the offense and, he's looking to take over, maybe even get his stats, and it kind of hurts the Bulls. But this wasn't one of those games. This was one of the games where DeMar stepped up when we needed it the most and became, again, that calming factor, was able to be the one to get the bucket. He also chipped in 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal. DeMar played a really solid game overall, and he deferred throughout most of this game. He didn't really take over the game or start playing selfishly or ball hog, as some people like to say. That really didn't come about until the final 4 to 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, and that's when we needed it the most. So to me, DeMar did what DeMar needed to do in a case like that. That's what you expect for him. He needed to take over that. But listen, it was Ayo Dosunmu that hit the game-sealing three-pointer that really put us in a position to win. Well, that locked in us winning this game. So, that overall, the team still played really well. We had some really good defensive moments, some really good moments of us getting out in transition. But one of the biggest stories to come out this game, and a lot of people are going to talk about, is the play from Julian Phillips. Julian Phillips checked in and almost immediately made an impact. Now, yes, it's against the Portland Trailblazers, so we want to put that in perspective. But he played a really good overall game. Matter of fact, he talked to Casey Johnson after the game, where he said this.
Julian, I talked to you before the game. You were told to be yourself. How do you think you did?
I thought I did pretty good. Yeah, we got the dub, so it's always good.
How are you able to look so unfazed out there with playing so little as much as you have this season?
Just trusting the work I put in. Just trusting the work, everything, and my teammates, they give me the confidence to do what I'm able to do, so just go out there and have fun.
What was it like watching DeMar DeRozan take over in the fourth quarter there?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. He's an incredible talent.
Hell yeah!
He's an incredible talent, so he does things like that all the time, but it's great to see, for sure.
One of the reasons I requested doing this post-game interview with you is because I knew that kind of stuff was going to happen. So what is that like to have your teammates kind of do this with you?
It's fun. They're a bunch of funny dudes. They do that in the locker room, on the plane, on the bus all the time, so I'm used to it.
What can you take away from this experience personally with the way you played tonight?
Just always stay ready. You never know when your time comes, but just trust your work, trust God, always stay ready.
Appreciate your time, Julian.
Appreciate it.
And so, talking about like that and Billy Donovan a little bit, we're playing another clip from Billy Donovan here in a second where he talked about kind of what was asked of him to come in this game and do, but Julian Phillips made an impact. 23 minutes played by Julian Phillips. He went 4 of 7 from the field, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block shot. That double-handed block shot as well was monstrous. It was really nice to see. But the things that don't come out the stat sheet for you is the poise, the way that he cut at times, how he moved without the ball. And much like I said earlier with Nikola Vucevic, sometimes not recognizing when he has the smaller man on him, every time a guard would switch on to Julian Phillips, he attacked them. A lot of times it was Scoot Henderson that led to him getting to the free throw line 4 times in this game, only taking 7 shots. That's really good. And not to say that you don't want to take too much away from this. It was a game against the Portland Trailblazers, but I do think while P. Will is down and while Torrey Craig is out, this is your opportunity to play Julian Phillips. Now, Billy Donovan talked a little bit about Julian's play. He was impressed with it, and he said this.
I think for himself, and I don't mean this critically of him, but he plays in a very, very small box for himself. He's a really good cutter. He's really good athletically on the glass. He does things he knows he can do. He's obviously a terrific athlete. I think the thing that I've been most impressed with from Summer League to now has been his ability to pick things up very quickly. He's got a very, very high IQ, and he instinctively knows where to cut. Like he just finds plays like that tip dunk. Like right. He had that one play, I think maybe towards the end of the half, he almost reversed layup. At the end of the third quarter, almost made it. Like he just has a knack of like where to cut and do those things. And I give him a lot of credit because, he'd been back and forth to G League, didn't get play necessarily a lot, and then he gets an opportunity tonight. And I thought he was a big, big boost for us and made a lot of really good positive plays. I thought our bench played well tonight.
And this has really led now a lot of Bulls fans, naturally and rightfully so, to talk more with Julian Phillips' play, to talk more about the fact that the Bulls they don't play a lot of their young players. And, you have Julian Phillips who's been playing a lot down in the G League this season. And anytime that player development conversation comes up, people are gonna have it, right? And so, Julian Phillips played really good in this game. And I do think, when we play the Toronto Raptors on Tuesday, he's earned a shot and a chance to get those minutes again because, listen, Javon Carter hasn't been playing well. Patrick Williams is down. Torrey Craig is out. This is the time. And, I know that we have that thought process that Billy Donovan doesn't play rookies. Now, Patrick Williams played right away. Ayo Dosunmu played right away. Again, there were some injuries. Kobe White didn't start off that season, but he was given the chance. He thrived in that chance, and Billy Donovan kept going to him. And then you have the Dalen Terrys, the Julian Phillips, the Marko Simonoviches, who Marco's out of the league, so I'm not blaming too much on that one, right? Adama Sanogo, like the players that are young that when Bulls kind of need some size or have players down with injury, we still don't go to. And I said it like this on the live stream, and I know it explains it to a degree, like the theoreticness of it, right? But it doesn't necessarily excuse like the moments where we don't see Julian Phillips playing, where we need some size and Torrey Craig and P. Will is out. But when you go down to the G League, you're able to work on every aspect of your game, meaning that Julian Phillips is able to have the ball go through him. He's able to do some playmaking in the half court. He's able to take players off dribble to isolate a little bit more with his scoring range. He's able to shoot more threes and kind of get himself into a flow of the game. And when you have raw players, you kind of want them to be able to work on everything in their game. And when you come up to the NBA level, your skill is going to your role is going to be very specialized. So what we need Julian Phillips for during the stretch is going to be energy, rebounding, some block shots, get out in transition where you can, and we'll get you hit the open shots that we get you, right? And so that's a little bit more restrictive for development. But I think that the key thing is that when opportunities like this present itself, when you have your players down and you need some size, because we saw before, Patrick Williams missed before, we played Dalen Terry as the 4, right? So it was good to see that Julian Phillips checked in this game with 5 minutes left in the first quarter. He played over 20 minutes, played well in those 20 minutes. Now let's see if we can build off that, right? I'm looking at Billy Donovan and this player development staff to really see, all right, how do we reward a player who played well per what we needed him to do? How do we now reward that going forward into the rest of the season? And, while this period's out, once Torrey Craig and P. Will are back healthy, Julian Phillips is probably not going to play a lot. And that's fine. That's what you expect from a first-year rookie. That was a second-round pick. Yeah, the Bulls traded 2 seconds to get him, but it's not always just going to work out where that player is going to have a role carved out for them right away. But I will say Julian Phillips definitely turned some heads, and this made Bulls fans ask back about player development. And that is a key thing in this next phase for the Bulls. It just is. For a team that you see other first, second-year players playing impact roles for their other teams, you don't always see that with the Bulls. Now, every situation is different, right? Those teams may be fighting for something different or they have a better infrastructure. But overall, player development has to be one of the focuses. You spent money on building out this player development staff led by Peter Patton, one of the most renowned shooting coaches in the world. So, you want to see that, but we need to start giving the young players a little bit more chance, giving them an opportunity to earn the minutes, right? You don't want to just give them to them just by the nature of them being young pieces, but you want to give them opportunities to learn through failing at times, right? Go through those ups and downs and that mistakes. The G League is a really good tool to develop players, specific roles for players or specific skills that you want out of players that they may not get to work on at the NBA level, but there's nothing like NBA minutes to really help the development of a player to see where you stand at amongst your peers. And so this is a really interesting opportunity for Julian Phillips to take advantage of, and maybe even the Billy Donovan, because there were stretches in this game where you had Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry on the court together with Alex Caruso, and the Bulls played some really good defense. Now, you could flip out Dalen Terry with Ayo Dosunmu once he's back on the bench, but the Bulls have a really nice mix of talent on that bench. And so Julian Phillips has now this opportunity, theoretically, to keep showing out and proving that, hey, I can play a little bit at this level. I can bring something to this team. And the poise that he has, right? The understanding that he has, the basketball IQ that Julian Phillips has, there's a lot to be said there. And so, like I said, I understand the reasons why Julian Phillips has been in the G League so much. I understand it. He was a player that was a really good shooter coming out of high school. His college coaches changed his his actual shooting motion, and it made him a worse shooter. Now, they went back to that high school shooting motion, trying to refine those motor skills, because I tell you what, if you can turn Julian Phillips, if he can get that three-point shot back to what it was, and I'm not saying Julian Phillips is going to be out here raining threes like Steph, but just that ability to hit the three ball consistently, with his ability to drive, his length, and his size, he's going to be able to find a way in the NBA, right? So that's a really nice skill set to have. I'm not, some Bulls fans now are taking, well, Julian Phillips has more potential than Patrick Williams. It is what it is. I get it. We've seen Patrick Williams for a large part. We haven't seen very much of Julian Phillips, but this is a really good opportunity. Dalen Terry had stretches where he got double-digit minutes for a while there. Maybe it's Julian Phillips' chance, but it's up for Julian to keep showing why he deserves those minutes. That's on Julian. And so hopefully he earned an opportunity now, and then we'll see what Billy Donovan is going to do with him going forward. And hopefully, as a head coach in the NBA, and especially when you're hearing those glowing ways that he talked about Julian Phillips at the end of the day, at the end of the game that I talked about, hopefully he's given that opportunity. Now, I know we were just talking about Julian Phillips. One thing I want to get back to from the game, it's evident. Listen, Nikola Vucevic has to stop shooting three-pointers. He just has to stop shooting three-pointers at some point. Like, Vooch, I get it. You can stretch the floor. That is part of your game. He's averaging 17 and 10 over the course of the season. All really good. But Nikola Vucevic is shooting the three ball 26.6% on the season. That's the lowest rate he's hit three-pointers at since 2000. We're talking almost 10 years since he shot the three ball that bad, and that was 22%. Listen, Vooch, I understand, and this goes back to some of the things of DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic occupying the same areas of where they like to start their offense. But we got to figure out something different. The three-point shot just ain't it for Nikola Vucevic this year. He just hasn't hit it. When you look at it, 0% last night from three. He took 4 of them. He was 2 for 3 against the Los Angeles Lakers, which is really cool. 1 for 5, 1 for 3, 0 for 3, 1 for 7, 2 for 5, 2 for 5, 0 for 5, 1 for 3, 1 for 5. On the course of the month of January, since the calendar flipped, Nikola Vucevic is shooting the 3 ball at a putrid 22.9%. That's just not good. We got to figure out a way to either better get him in rhythm and flow, or we got to find a different outlet other than running Nikola Vucevic at the 3-point line. We said it. If anything's declining, Nikola Vucevic's 3-point shot definitely is. He was never really a volume 3-point shooter. We tried to turn him into that. He had 1 year of being that. That was the year we traded for him with the Orlando Magic. But that's not Vooch's game. And so I know a lot of Bulls fans say, well, can we trade Vooch? We need to move Vooch. You're not getting nothing for Vooch. Vooch is probably going to be here for the majority of that contract he signed, and that just is what it is. But how we use Vooch needs to be better, and Vooch has to be better as well. Stop settling for those 3-point shots. Nobody's guarding you out there, bro. And I know that it's a wide open shot, and it could look good, could look effortless, and could look flawless. If you hit it, you're not hitting it. It's 22%. 22% on the season. We got to stop it. We got to stop it. The month of October, 20% from 3. The month of November, 27% from 3. The month of December, 30% from 3. He has been a sub 30% shooter all season long, but the month of December, and that was mid. He was basically there. We got to do something different about Vooch. That 3-point shooting, him and Javon Carter just got to stop. They just got to stop. Like, it just, see a 3, take a 3. No, don't do it. Don't take it. Don't take it. Give it to somebody else. But okay, that's my thought process. I wanted to get on that. Kind of forgot about that in the first segment. But let's get into the next one. Billy Donovan recently talked about Zach LaVine. And he said this before the game. Haven't talked to him about anything with the rumor piece of it. I would just guess that with him being in the league for 10 years, that these things will kind of happen. My talks with him have been more centered around his frustration with being out. And he also talked about that there's nothing concerned. Billy Donovan said, I'm more interested when there's things coming to the table with. What do you think about this player? Donovan said of his role in the talks with Zach LaVine. So, Billy, it's good to see that even with Zach LaVine, and part of the reason why this rumored, desire to be traded from the Chicago Bulls came about because of his dislike of Billy Donovan. Him not trusting Billy Donovan as the coach, him not necessarily liking Billy Donovan's coaching. But to see that they still have that coach-player relationship where Billy Donovan is talking to him about the game and how he wants to play when he gets back. But I commend Billy Donovan's thought process on, listen, just talk to me when people are coming in. We'll deal with it at that point if we got players coming in and what we need to do with those players. But up until then, I got a basketball team to coach. I can't be in these trade rumors every single day. And that's what you want from your head coach. You don't want a head coach that's constantly involved and ingrained. You want some separation between church and state there. And hearing that Billy Donovan feels that way, I think it kind of brings together how a lot of Bulls fans right now are feeling about the Zach LaVine trade rumors. Just wake me up and tell me when it's done. Just wake me up and tell me when it's done. We'll break down what pieces we do and don't get when it happens, but just wake me up and tell me when it's done. That's what I took for Billy Donovan, at least in this. And, overall, as we head closer and closer to the trade deadline, which is right around the corner, it's crazy that this time next week, well, not exactly this time next week, but we'll be talking about the Chicago Bulls and the trade deadline of next Thursday. So 10 days away, we'll be talking about the Bulls and what they either did or did not do at the trade deadline. And I know a lot of Bulls fans are anxious about this, to see what this front office is realistically going to do to try to improve this team or do with the Zach LaVine trade or both thereof. What's going to happen with DeMar and things like that. So, listen, trade deadline is a lot of fun times for just somebody who loves the NBA because there's a lot of rumors, a lot of things going around, a lot of movement, new teams coming together. It gives a lot to talk about. But I think when you come down to it, it's like, hey, when it comes down to the Bulls, you just show me. What are you going to do? Show me. We've speculated about everything, every which way that we possibly could. At this point, just show us what this team is going to be so we can learn how to prepare for it in the next round. But all right, we do got one voicemail I want to play for today. This one's for one of my favorite voicemail callers, and that is Michael Korn.
Hey, Haize, how you doing? Mike Korn here. Trade idea. Thinking about Drummond, who I really like. Don't want to see the Bulls trade him. But there are teams out there, contenders, who need bigs. And I'm particularly, or specifically, I'm thinking about the Thunder. They can definitely use the big, and they got a lot of assets that the Bulls could use, whether it's draft choices, maybe some expiring contracts. And I don't know how the salaries match up and stuff, but I'd be okay if Drummond was traded to OKC. What are your thoughts on that? Zach LaVine, so hard to say, man. Like, what a bad story it's been for him that he helped, right. But I like what you've been saying, that the story of the Bulls this year really is Kobe White's play. Debating whether to stay up to watch the Portland game tonight here on the East Coast, man. It's too late. I did see the game against the Suns. The Bulls played great, man. It would have been awesome to see them win that one. The game against the Lakers, they didn't play like they had a chance. They didn't come in there playing to win, or they might have, but that was clearly, jolted out of them right at the beginning of the game. Anyways, love the content, man. Keep it up. Go Bulls. Be red. Bye-bye.
Thunder, Drum. Listen, I think the Thunder are a team that definitely could be interested in Drum. I thought that the Memphis Grizzlies could be one of those teams as well that get involved on that. But, with them and the amount of injuries that they have, they're clearly, I don't think, really worried at this point about making a playoff run per se. So, it is what it is. But I do think that the Thunder, I think a lot of teams could get in on Andre Drummond. I think the Phoenix Suns could make a call eventually if they look to move on from some of those pieces. I think the Dallas Mavericks could for some bench depth. The thing with Drum that makes his contract so favorable for a lot of teams is just the fact of how low it is. It's what, a little over $3 million, I think, something like that. It's an easily movable contract, extremely easy to move. And so if the Bulls do want to make that deal, they can. Now, I, for one, hope Drummond stays here. I hope that we utilize Drummond a little bit better too. But, the Bulls are probably listening to all things, all opportunities to really improve this team. If moving Drum does that, then maybe the front office does it. But I think that we're really in store for more of a keep everything together, another continuity, maybe trade deadline than a lot of us want to admit. So, it comes down to that. But outside of that, man, the Bulls and the Suns game, and, you saying you're staying up late for games, it sucks. Staying up late, again, as somebody also who's on East Coast time, that 10:30 start time for that Lakers game almost killed me. But we do it because it's a labor of love, man. And when you look at how this team is progressing, there are a lot of signs of some real positivity brewing in this team. We just got to be consistent, man. We just got to be consistent in what we're doing, how we're going about things. And, I think that this team, the letdown against a team like the Portland Trailblazers, letting them go on a 13-2 run to get back in the game, even though they only led for 59 seconds. I just want to see that eliminated for this team. Can we be a team that just can come in and win and do it consistently and have these big days where we just play so much better than the competition that's clearly below us? We don't do that a whole hell of a lot, and I would love to see that be more consistent for the Chicago Bulls as well. But thank you for leaving that voicemail, Micah Corn. Thank you for everyone. Leave those voicemails, man. We're getting closer and closer to episode 1,000. That's 1,000 straight days of Chicago Bulls Central. We're 32 days away now, man. But I love you guys, man. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.